Hey, I'm Duke on Twitch. If you want to support the channel and greensunzenith.com, you can find my Patreon, merch store, and singles store where you can buy singles through TCG Player or Card Hoarder in the video description. If you want to get in contact, you can also find all that info in the description below for things like donation deck lists or just wanting to reach out. Alright, let's get right into it.
Team, welcome back to Dukes on Twitch. Back today with Abzan Mav, which I've been really enjoying. I've been really enjoying seeing other players play with the deck, and especially around with this card. Big shout out to Sato San, who is a huge part of Maverick community and has been putting up some fantastic results with Maverick over the years, and has recently been playing this card a fair amount, which is a really nice removal spell because it just answers pretty much anything. It buffs your creature, it gives it lifelink, which is obviously great in a deck with things like Thoughtseize or Sylvan Library if you're playing it, and then also just generally against, say, Delver decks where life is obviously pretty big, and then Ward on top of that. So even if there isn't something that you're too worried about on the field, being able to get something like Thalia or Gaddock Teeg Ward against a combo deck that might have a bounce effect or an abrupt decay, having to either pay the extra or deal with the sheltered first is pretty awesome. So I'm not too sure on 3, but I do want to see it a fair amount. So we have cut down from the initial 4. I think 2 is pretty good as kind of Swords Plowshares 5, 6. And obviously it's good in a version with a lot of creatures, which this version could have more. We are running 22 creatures, 15 other. Once upon a time being kind of the slot where you could just add more creatures and go up to 25, but I do think that once is pretty nice. It allows you to keep a few hands that you might not be able to without it, and just that little bit of selection is really nice. So I do want to try out once again. We are playing Talon Gates, even though we're just playing the 3 knights. I'm pretty big on 3 knights. I kind of see Ramunap as the 4th knight, because typically right now, knight is a pretty good beater, but it's also just a great way to find Wasteland. And if Wasteland's in the bin, then Ramunap just gets it a turn earlier, typically. So that's really nice. I am kind of doubling up as well with Renegade Rallier and Ramunap, but I think they both do different things. And in a deck with Sheltered, being able to, say, fetch, play Rallier, trigger, get back Shelter, put it on Rallier, trigger, take out something is pretty phenomenal. So I still think there's matchups where the Ramunap Wasteland lock is relevant and does still get concessions, which is great. And I do see the benefits in Rallier. So Cub is another one which has been seeing a lot of players 4-ofs, which is great to see. It's awesome to see Maverick doing well at different events. I kind of see it as just like a bit of a way. It's a nice Green Suns target for me because there's no one true matchup where I see it being the bear to get. But if I'm up against a deck, I want to play around like Orcish Bowmasters, or I just want to make sure that my creatures are a little bit bigger than my opponents, then it's nice to have. But it's kind of like what John Stearns said in a GP deck tech, I think 2013, where Tarmogoyf had just left the deck and the commentator was asking, where's Tarmogoyf? And he kind of said that it's just a beater. It doesn't really have that disruption and pressure. It is just pressure. But I do like that Cub can be disruptive in the way that if your opponent has, say, Bowmasters as a way to deal with Thalia, then being able to get out of Bowmasters range is disruption in some regard. So to the board, we have 3 Leyline, 1 Fairy. I was thinking about the 4 Leyline, but in a Once Upon a Time deck, I do want to have Fairy. We can cast it as well if needed. But it's just nice to have Fairy against some graveyard decks where they kind of think they can go off because they've dealt with Leyline, or they've, dealt with a Keen-Eyed Curator, and then just to have the Fairy in hand is always nice. Teeg, I think, is really relevant still, especially against the Khan, the One Ring style decks. It's probably better than Collector Ouphe, which sounds really weird because Collector Ouphe is obviously great against Grim Monolith, One Ring, a lot of their deck, but where Teeg really trumps Ouphe is Kozilek's Command. Kozilek's Command? Kozilek's Command. And, Kozilek's Command being great removal for Collector Ouphe, it can't remove Teeg. So there are some times where I do wish that Teeg was in the main deck over Ouphe these days, but for now, I still don't mind having the Ouphe there. Karakas, also a card that sometimes they play, which does hit Teeg, but doesn't hit Ouphe. So there's always going to be a mixture of things. Deafening Silence and Thoughtseize, I think is just great to have turn 1 hate against combo decks, and Thoughtseize is quite nice as just a way to get some information about how to play out your hand, which I think is really undervalued. And honestly, I would love to play Thoughtseize in the main deck as a full play set, but it's just really hard finding that space. I think if I did, it would be taking out the 1 Sheltered and the 3 once, and then playing the Thoughtseizes in the main deck, because I think it's just such a timeless card. And it's not just about disrupting your opponent, but it's also allowing you to kind of back up your plan and really evaluate, like, okay, Wasteland actually isn't that great because they kept a double Brainstorm 5-land hand. Or Wasteland is actually fantastic and we need to take them off this land, especially if they say shuffle from a turn 1 Ponder or something. But yeah, Choke is another one that I still like, especially in this version, because there are a lot of ways to already choke their mana. I did have Carpet in the board. I'm a big fan of Carpet, especially against the Delver decks, but it's just really hard finding space. So I didn't go with Carpet, but I could definitely see Carpet in the deck. With the Shelters, I only added the Dismember in the sideboard as extra removal, which I think is fine. And then the 2 Force of Vigors. I think it's just a nice safe card, like 2 Force, 2 Deafening Silence, and then like 2 Leyline, I would say is always like minimum, typically 3 to 4 Leyline, but yeah, that's really it. We'll see how this goes. Hopefully it goes okay. We are playing a Legacy League with Abzan Mav, play points, nice. Big shout out to Daybreak Games, who obviously sponsor this channel and give me access to MTGO, and to local sponsors like MTG Mate. MTGmate.com.au is a great source for your singles, and keep an eye on their Facebook page today because they have a pretty big announcement. And then also we have Palms Off Gaming, who are an accessories company based in Melbourne, and do some pretty cool stuff. I don't have anything around me, but I do like their sleeves and deck boxes. All right, Max. I think Max is typically on Oops these days. Tricky one. We have a turn 2 Thalia. We don't have a white source for the birds, which is a little bit tough. So Max is typically in a blue deck. I have seen him recently on Oops. So turn 2 Thalia is a pretty good turn 2, but against an Oops deck, typically they're going off turn 1, game 1 if they're keeping a hand. So, but they could also be on something like a blue-black deck, which still something like a Bowmasters is a pretty good out for this Thalia. It would have been really nice if the Scrubland or the Plains was a fetch land, because then like turn 1 Bird, turn 2 Thalia, and Wasteland would be sweet. I think there is going to be a better 6. There is a world where we just get stuck on mana, and that's on us for keeping the hand, so we will mulligan this. Okay. This isn't too bad. We have turn 1 Hierarch into turn 2 Ouphe if that's relevant, and then we can just bottom a swords. And thankfully, if Ouphe isn't relevant, we still have Grist to get rid of it, maybe get rid of a creature. So I don't mind this, and we'll bottom a swords. And then just to have all colors on board, we'll get us Savannah off the Verdant. Ooh. Okay. Well, I think this hand should line up pretty well if we get an extra turn. So they currently have 4 mana. The 1 ring. Okay. So I wonder in this instance if it's best to have... We definitely want to play the Ouphe. And I think we just want to be able to take them off the ability to Kozilek's... I guess it's pretty good because Kozilek's command is 4 mana to get rid of the Ouphe. They currently have access to 1. So I don't think we have to Wasteland here. But it's interesting. I think I'd rather save the Wasteland for, say, a 2-mana spell. And sadly, this is actually a great case of where we're not playing the green-black Surveil land. I'm just trying to think what else they could have that would... But I think the Wasteland, say going for a Saga, I'm much more happier to see. Defense grid, okay. Dismember is a reason to race. Yeah, that's a really good one. Especially now, like I think I've seen Sato San talking about playing more main deck removal like Path to Exile and Dismember. Thalia is pretty good here. We get to play Thalia and also play Wasteland, so we'll put that on top and just really go after their mana. So we get to attack for 3. I guess there's no reason to hold up mana in any way because of the defense grid. But yeah, thankfully a very solid start for us. We have a 3-turn clock with these currently in play, which is nice. But this could be the... I guess it can't be the key command because that would cost it an additional. So what is 3 mana? Sheltered by Ghosts would actually be a pretty good pickup. They could be commanding just for 1. Yeah, just to get something in play. Ooh, they missed a land drop. Okay. So here we can attack for 4. And then probably just swords the token. Save the Grist. I guess if we're attacking, we shouldn't even give them the chance to just block. Yeah, that's probably correct. This is very cool. I very much appreciate their... Ooh, Play on Nexus is pretty good. This feels like a key command. Rim. 5 mana. Key. Nice. So one kind of cool thing we have is that if we draw Renegade Rallier... Oh, it got exiled, didn't it? I was going to say if we draw Renegade Rallier and Ouphe was in the bin, we could just probably pitch the Endurance to make it leave the field and then play Renegade Rallier to trigger and get back the Ouphe. Really nice turn from Max. Thankfully, if they tick down the Khan, then we get to kill it with the Thalia. But with Engine in play, that's going to be tough. Okay. I think we attack them and then just Grist away the Khan. tough. We did buy some time. I mean, we had a great start. We can't really say we didn't have a. So we do have some nice boarding for this, which is pretty cool. So we have obviously Force of Vigor, we have Gaddock Teeg, we have Thoughtseize, we have Deafening Silence. I assume they can find another ring to replace this one. I mean, they could also just kill us from here, to be fair. Nice. All right, what don't I like? I'm not a big fan of the endurances. That's a pretty easy one. Probably the cat and the curator just don't do enough. That's an easy one for the 2 forces and the 2 deafening silences. I think it's important to have answers for the flesh rakers. I could see a mana dork coming out. I think like Gaddock Teeg is a definite. Knights are obviously nice answers for with Wasteland. Because we have the sheltered, maybe we take out some swords. Like swords are really only there for the flesh rakers. That I could see like 3, 2. Thalia, I think it's still okay. Yeah, it's a great point. Yeah, maybe going after the non-Urza Saga land was correct. And just allow them to have potentially the token if they land like another one. But yeah, that's a great play. It could just be like the onces are still nice, I think, because like Wasteland's a great find. Obviously, any sort of creature like Ouphe or Bowmasters. Let's have a good think. There is a world where I like the bird flies, so it gets over like the 0/1 tokens in case I want to kill a Khan with maybe Exalted or something. But that'd be pretty tricky. I'd need all, pretty much. I'd actually need all to be on the field. It could just be a knight. Like, I think that's fine. I really like playing lower to the ground against this deck. So I think this should be okay. As good as knight is. They're most likely bringing in things that answer it like a flute kind of effect, but really want to have like Deafening Silence or something else turn 1. This is a turn 2 Ouphe with turn 3 Sheltered, which is kind of nice. Which is pretty hard. Like, it's kind of Ouphe into Gaddock Teeg, which I think is pretty hard to pass up. We would want to be mulliganing towards like Deafening Silence, which is obviously a pretty nice card to have on the play. But we do only have 2. We can't find it through Once Upon a Time. This does semi-answer Sheltered Glaring Fresh. I think, yeah, it's tough. I think there are hands that are are really appealing, like say Deafening Silence into Teeg, but yeah, I don't think we can pass this back. Like, it's got so many good ways to get there. Max goes to 6. Okay. And I have to think it's just the same sort of Savannah into Ignobled. Ooh. Tough. All right. Yes. Force is pretty nice. So here it's probably sheltering on the Flesh Raker and attack. I could also go for Teeg. But Teeg does turn off the Force. We're definitely playing the Peatland. That's an easy one. Max might just need to go for a second, but we can talk here. Yeah, them making sagas is not too bad. I kind of see this, like, I kind of see this turn being play the bird, play the Sheltered by Ghosts, take out the Flesh Raker, make it a little bit harder to deal with the Collector Ouphe, and then if we really need to, we have Green Sun's Pitch Force to deal with something. Otherwise, we get to untap, and then most likely trade the Force with the Saga and also the token, which isn't too bad. And then we have the Green Suns as backup the following turn, most likely for Gaddock Teeg. Teeg turning off K Command is obviously huge. But hey, big shout out to Max. If you haven't seen Max's content, definitely check it out. I believe Max is currently the North America Eternal Vintage Champion, which is very cool. If you want to check out some very cool... Stop saying cool. If you want to check out some great content, definitely check out the Card Titans coverage of Eternal Weekend from last year, especially the top 8 vintage where Max is playing. But yeah, Sheltered here like has a few options, but I think just taking them off the glaring to stop them from getting the mana from it is pretty important. The other line is potentially we don't care about the bird and we hold up draw a card with the Peatland, but I think getting to 4 mana or maybe even more with Force is good. Yeah, so the Sheltered adding the ward to the Collector Ouphe is really nice. So I think that helps against the K command. And then we also do have, if we find like a fetch land or something, we have Green Suns for Renegade Rallier to get it back. However, we do know that K command does exile, so we won't be able to get back the Ouphe. But yeah, I think we'll tap like this. And just put this on the stack. Ah, Max must have sixed. Okay. We'll play the bird. And then we'll attack. Okay. 2, 3, 4 mana. Ooh, that's pretty big. Okay. I think we just take out the tomb here. They make the token. We then just force token, saga, and attack. I could also force other things, but yeah. There's a world where I could hold the wasteland. But Wasteland, they're so good because it takes them off the ability to key command for a fair while. And now we do have lethal next turn unless they find something, so really nice, like, yeah. Yeah. Max has said spooky. That is quite funny. I think we're just running this back. Yeah, on the draw, Force of Vigor obviously holds a lot. If they do have a slow start with, say, like a Saga start or a tower, then Deafening Silence is also great. But there is a thought of just an extra swords. On the draw. Like, 2-1 Fleshraker is pretty annoying. And I do want to have answers to it. It could, like... It could honestly just be a land. It could just be a... I don't know. Maybe it's actually just a Bayou. Yeah, maybe Bowmasters isn't... Like, it's nice to have against the ring starts, but... I could definitely see, like, the extra swords being better than the third Bowmaster. A little bit too fair, unfortunately. We don't really have a way to interact with our opponent outside of swords. Mana's fine, but really want to see Force or Deafening Silence. This is a bit tough as well. It is just Ouphe, and we already have the Lush, so we can't even play a fetch land Lush and have some interaction there. So I'm pretty happy to get under 5. I would say this sort of matchup, and typically with Maverick versus combo, it's about card quality and not card quantity, so there's definitely a 5 that does a lot more. And this is probably it. Turn 1 Thoughtseize, turn 2 Collector Ouphe. Probably bottom the Grist. And then it's probably between Green Suns and Bowmasters. I do like that the Green Suns finds Teeg, which I think might just do a little bit more than the Bowmaster. Okay. Ancient Tomb Pass is pretty nice for us. Okay, so we want to cast once first. Another fetch land isn't too bad here. Just having a good think. I like that means... Yeah. I do like the fetch. Get a Bayou and play the Thoughtseize. Okay. What do we really care about here? I think it's the Fleshraker because we currently don't have an answer to it. But those other things are pretty scary. Yeah. Fleshraker get Teeg. Yeah, I like that as well. Play this Saga. Go for Savannah. Ouphe. If they play the Khan and tick down, we do have Green Suns for an exalted creature to kill it. Sweet. Oh, wow, okay. Bowmasters doesn't kill this, unfortunately. But that's not the worst thing. Play the gate. We won't phase out anything. Green Sun's Fatigue does turn off our own Green Suns, but turning off their Khan and also their engine is pretty sweet. There's no great attacks here. They'll have a 2-2. No Barragoyf. It's quite hard to find space for it, especially as a non-tutorable creature. We're gonna take this. Oh, another Saga as well is really good. We almost have to block with Teeg here. 2, 3, 4. Just to be able to Green Suns next turn for something that can deal with this, but it's... I don't think if we have the Teeg in play, it actually allows us to do much. Like, Force of Vigor is probably our best, one of our better draws. Yeah. Yeah, unfortunately, I don't think we have anything because they have 3 attacks next turn. Tough. Definitely had the Bears for their main plan, but obviously Saga is very powerful as well. All right, on the play, which is nice. Playing against a Yorion deck, which this hand isn't great against. Turn 1 mana acceleration, turn 2 Collector Ouphe. I think that's a better hand. This is pretty sweet. We put back the Dryad Arbor. Once for a fetch land. Don't find it, but we do find a white source in Scrubland if we lose the Noble. Interesting. If they swords the Noble and we take the Bayou, we're off white. We'd have Green Suns again for a mana dork, which isn't great. I kind of like just taking the Scrubland, playing the Nurturing Peatland, which will deal us damage, of course, but having the sheltering for life gain is kind of nice, so... I did not expect Chromox. Ah, wait, is this like a Yorion version of Oops? Ah, wow. Wow. Interesting. Jeweled Amulet. Bridgeworks Battle? Oh, must be like another, obviously, land. Very interesting. All right. You got me. Revitalizing Repast. Wow, so many lands. Tough. Pretty much everything. Like, obviously the ley lines are great, and the Fairy Macabre. We do like the Thought Seizers and Deafening Silences, like Force of Vigors and Teeg. A lot of stuff, honestly. Swords I don't really care about. The Sheltered I don't really care about. Ramunap. Rally is a bit slow. Cub, slow. Knight, slow. Grist, no. There we go. That's pretty much it. I think we just try this. Quick think. Yeah. Can you imagine if they like sideboard into like 15 card D&T? An interesting hand. Like we have turn 1 Thoughtseize into turn 2 Thalia and also a once. I'm pretty happy to see where this goes. I think this is pretty hard to throw away. Happy to once first before I fetch because there's a lot of stuff that I probably want to get back. I think it's just the Wasteland here. And then we go for Bayou. Thoughtseize them. If there's a Chromox, I'd love to see that. There's a Petal. I think we just take the Undercity here, right? And then kind of hope a little bit. Oh no, what's this? Ah, wow. Yeah. Tough. The card was... Where is it? Lively Dirge. I should have read it correctly. I thought it was search your library for a card. Damn. tough. Maybe it's just mulligan to... Yeah. I guess, to be fair, I haven't seen that card before, so I wouldn't play around it. So I think the hand was still great. It was just tough that they had a very good hand against it. Maybe I was supposed to take the ritual. Yeah. I think I just should have read the cards. I should have read the cards and then realized that ritual was the way for them to get it into play. But even then it's tough because then they have pedal, spirit guide, land, play the creature, and then next turn just go off. I guess it gives me one draw. I get to play Thalia, which keeps them off the ability. No, because they have the land as well just to... Yeah, I guess it gives me one turn because with one land they can't Dread Return and also Cabal to get back the Poxwalkers. But yeah, tricky. Yuck. I took a screenshot of the hand. Yeah, because like Undercity Informer I take, but then they obviously have Land Piddle Ritual, get back the Undercity with the Lively Dirge, and then they have the Spirit Guide to go off. Alright, on the play. Pretty great hand. We'll keep this. Have Mana Acceleration, Interaction. The once I probably just want to find a threat. I wouldn't mind either Thalia or Bowmasters. I also like testing like this where I have the 3 Leyline and 1 Ferromacabre, because then I know that if I draw the Ferromacabre a lot, I can kind of say like, if this was the 4th Leyline, how would this change things? Interesting. I kind of like the Keen-Eyed here. It's just something that I can even get on the field, even if they deal with the Ignoble. Okay. I think next turn is just going to be land Green Suns for Cub and then have the Verdant to start doing something with that. Unless we draw a Wasteland. Or a 2-drop. Or a Knight is pretty good. I don't mind just trying to slam the Knight. Okay, so no days, which is great. I really want to... Okay, Tamiyo is fine. I kind of hope they brainstorm, because then we can go for Cub and then build up the Knight to kill the Tamiyo. So the Knight needs to be a 5/5. So it needs to be a 4/4 thanks to Exalted. The issue is that they've probably found a daze. But I think I'm okay to play into daze. Like at worst, we have to tap the knight. Oh, okay. Land trigger. Fetch. Probably just going to get the scrub. That works out pretty well. I was a little bit afraid of this, but there's not too much we can do with the Keen-Eyed in the yard, and endurance most likely being sorcery speed. Atraxa does reset their hand in a way, but at the same time we have the sword, we have Karakas through night. Well, I'm not even sure that I want to trigger this, that I want to throw away the sword, because we have the Karakas. And like, there's a world where I actually want them to force it to go down to 10, where the Scrib by itself could potentially get there. I do not know what that word is in front of Atraxa, so I'm going to assume that's a Final Fantasy thing. But yeah, I would say in general, if you do want to get rid of an Atraxa with a removal spell, then do it in response to the trigger. But I think in this case, we're fine with them having it on the field. Brazen Burrower, Force, Undercity Sewers. Pond is fine. So we know they have 5 cards: Brazen Burrower, Force of Will, Undercity Sewers, and 2 cards. So I could try to Swords this now, and then get to untap with 4 mana, which is quite nice. And I kind of want this to be forced. Nice. Puts them down on the Borrower, hopefully. Cool. If we find a fetch land, ooh, that's pretty good as well. Trigger. Put this up. And then what if we get to go? Green Suns for Grist, I think here. put them to 1. So the only card we know about is Undercity Sewers. Animate Dead's a pretty good start. They don't find a Fatal Push, which is nice. Bowmaster, Entomb, Wasteland, Tameo, Delta, Tameo, Bowmaster, Thoughtseize, Bloodmire. Okay, that's fine. I mean, the Cub has Trample, so we're good to go. Boom. Sack this. Get Karakas. Where is Karakas? Boom. Nice. We like the chokes. We like the Fairy Macabre. I don't think we want the ley lines. Pretty happy with these 3. Just have a little bit more interaction. The Ouphe can come out. The Outland Liberator can come out. Then it's a little bit tricky. I really like the Mana Acceleration, even if it forces an Orc. Dismember, I actually don't mind as well. Yeah. Especially if they're on like maybe a Barrowgoth plan. It does sometimes hit Tameo, which is nice. I don't mind dropping a Green Suns. I don't mind dropping a Green Suns against the decks where I don't really need to have like one specific bear. That I'd rather just have more answers than sort of fluff. But I do like the onces because of the Fairy Macabre. It might just be a dork. Okay. I don't mind Ramunap. I would say Ramunap is a nice way to get a concession from a blue-black player with the Wasteland lock. And it's nice to be able to get things back, like if I need to get like a Talons back or a Dryad Arbor because of like Archon. Sewers is fine. Okay. Put one card on top. I don't mind just resetting. There's not a specific land I want to go after. Obviously the chokes mean... Well, the chokes don't mean as much because there aren't any sort of non-green cards that I care about, or non-island lands that I care about. Start with once here. We found the fairy, which is nice. We'll take the fairy and then Bayou into Dryad Arbor. It's nice to try to potentially get an orc to answer the Dryad Arbor, and then we get to play the Thalia. I think next turn, if they enter the Dryad Arbor here, we're just going to go Karakas into Thalia and keep the fetches for the Cub. I kind of hope they go like Ponder. Ah, okay. Interesting to go after the Dryad Arbor because they have answers to it in things like Bowmaster. I don't mind Brainstorm here. I would love to see a Daze because we're already pretty far ahead in terms of mana. So if they want to go back to one land and we untap, play the Cub, play a land, then we're looking pretty strong. But yeah, Matsol, I could see a world where Ramunap might just be a little bit overkill. Typically blue-black as well go after their basics early on. This player obviously isn't, but maybe just the Renegade Rallier in the deck is just enough of the Ramunap part that it could just be take out the Ramunap but keep the Renegade Rallier. Wow, okay. That most likely means Bowmaster. Like, Karakas is tapped. Oh. Wow. I think here then we're happy to attack first and then probably just hold up the Karakas, play the Lush. Next turn, play the Cub, play a fetch land. Just to get some control over, say, drawing into another threat would be nice, like a Bowmaster. Cradle, I can probably put in the graveyard right here. This isn't really a matchup for Cradle. Typically, they don't allow us to go wide that much. Interesting. Well, I don't want to throw this into a Bowmaster just yet. As in, tap out for Cub, play the land, trigger, they then Bowmaster in response. So I think we'll attack first. And then probably at this stage, play the Peatland, play the Cub, hold up Karakas. Nice. Play this, trigger, target the Thalia. Well. Guess we might as well fetch now. I don't think they're like a Harbinger deck. They wouldn't have surely they would have been on a different plane of wastelanding us if they were. So I'm just going to get the Savannah. Trigger. Would I be happy to trade this with, say, a Bowmaster? Probably not. So I think I'm just going to attack with the Thalia. And then next turn we can put counters on it. And honestly, if they try to push it, I think our plan is just to replay the Thalia. Yeah. Shoot the Sheriff is cool. I can't think of a creature that it currently wouldn't hit in Legacy. Okay. Bombardiers or Brazen Borrower. Nice. Those are great ones. Ooh, okay. Very interesting. I mean, here we're going to try to get them to tap out as much as possible. Fatal push it, you know you want to. Okay. I feel like if they had a Brainstormer, they'd Brainstorm in response to the fetch. I don't think they run Counterspell. Drown in the Lock I don't think is a card. But having a good think. Force, pitch Brazen Borrower. Interesting. Instead of, say, bounce, untap, and even if they draw like a 5th land, they can then force on the untap. But I think we're pretty happy to see that. Ponder's fine. I kind of hope in, say, Modern Horizons 4, if there is one, that they print a Renegade Rallier that's maybe 4 mana but gets back a 3 CMC or less onto the battlefield. I just want a way to get back Choke. Barrogoyf. Okay, that's fine. Interesting, keep everything back. I guess because of the Cub. I think in that case we want to diversify. Or do we? No, I'm pretty happy to put it on the Cub. And then obviously just fetch now. Get that Scrubland. Trigger. Nice. And then, honestly, the attack here is... They go up to 12. They take 2, go to 10, but I get rid of the Barrogoyf. Leaves me with the Knight. Which I don't mind. The only card that I'm really scared of off Barrogoyf is probably another Barrogoyf, or potentially another Borrower, if they have one. I think I'm pretty happy to trade the Cub with the Barrogoyf. I feel like the Cub has done its job. Like, us drawing into removal for it off the top is pretty low key. But a tough one. Maybe there's a world where they don't feel happy to attack with the Barrogoyf next turn. Apologies. Green Suns off the top would be kind of cool. Green Suns maybe get Rallier, get back the Cub. I wonder if they still know about the Ferry Macabre. Like if they have opened the tab that shows the cards they know about. Like potentially, like it's turn 9, so they could have forgotten about it. Maybe go for a Reanimate. No shuffle. Oh, exactly what we just talked about. But they could also be baiting. And in this case, I think we're still happy to take them off the Barrogoyf and shoot the Sheriff. Like it could be Entomb Exhume. Sorry, Entomb Reanimate in hand, but if they have that, they have that. Yeah, we can't do too much about this. I guess we could have allowed them to have, but... I think we draw a card at the end step, even though they get an extra damage in. Okay. That is potentially like fetch land in... Dryad Arbor is there, unfortunately. Sadly, I think that's just it. Quick think. Yeah, because we can't turn on Rally to get back 2 creatures. I think we're just dead. I think we're just going to run it back. It's nothing that I really want to change. Some thought of like Thoughtseize. Like they typically always have cards in hand, but I think I'm happy just to try to play the creature-based game. That would have been pretty tricky as well, trying to play around if we don't take out the Barragoyf to get it back. We draw into Green Suns. We don't have access to Dryad Arbor, so we can't like fetch, get Grist off the Green Suns, get rid of the Barragoyf. Would have access to Talon Gates, but without Trample, the Bowmasters are still pretty good at blocking and kind of negating the effect of the Talon Gates. A little slow, but I don't mind it. Like we just make our mana, make our land drops. Lush sets us up. Pretty happy to put that in the graveyard. Wasteland's fine. This turns on like Once Upon a Time. Verdant's pretty cool. Thoughtseize. Okay. We still haven't cast a spell. So Once Upon a Time off the top is pretty good. A Mana Dork's pretty good. I'd be happy to Wasteland and play Mana Dork. Thoughtseize is a little bit scary if they take the Ramunap, because then they could get it back as well. One thing I did check was phasing and how it works with, say, reanimate on your creature. So if they reanimate Ramunap and we Talon Gates it, phasing means it doesn't actually leave the field, it just isn't there. So it doesn't kind of return. So it doesn't come back under your control like, say, a Flickerwisp would allow. They take the Ramunap, that's kind of scary. Okay. There is a world where I should have gone fetch here and then hold up, either double fetch into Renegade Rallier. But see what they want to do. Yeah. Sadly, not much for this. I don't mind just trying to get the Cub into play. This is probably a matchup where I wouldn't mind a card like Ghost Vacuum, where you have some control over what your opponent can do. Maybe they're thinking of, say, like Shoot the Sheriff or Fatal Push on the Cub. Can also do some cool stuff with Rallier next turn if we have our mana. You can go like land, trigger. Okay. What do we have left? Savannah, Scrubland. We kind of have to only get a fetch land for a basic, which is a Windswept Heath, to be able to turn on the Sheltered. If they don't, just double Wasteland us again. Tough. Fetch lands are good outs. Yeah. I think sadly just a little bit too far behind. Tough. Well, maybe. Just maybe we can bring it back and play for a 3-2. Which is tricky. I feel like we built our board pretty well for combo, but just hasn't lined up the way that we want it. Which is always going to happen with these sort of decks. But a good mix of decks. Can't be unhappy about that. Nice to play against like like Khan combo, Ouphe, play. And then, yeah, typically I find blue-black isn't too bad. That's probably a good matchup where Carpet is nice because they go after your mana with both Wasteland and Bowmasters on your mana dorks. But yeah, it's tough. I don't think we have the luxury of playing a card like Ghost Vacuum. I think we really need like just sort of instant speed hate like Leyline or like Fairy Macabre. Whereas having that turn is a big luxury for Maverick these days. Even cards like Deafening Silence, a luxury to get to turn 1, which I think kind of gives you the state of the deck compared to combo. But if we do land those cards, typically they're good enough to buy us time to then play additional hate, typically in the form of creatures. I'm not sure if like a different color today would have made things different. Probably not. Like Pyroblast out of red, Minsk obviously not really for these matchups. Green-white potentially, maybe in that game, like access to extra basics, maybe having like a 2-2 split of Forest Plains. Honestly, Mindbreak Trap. Mindbreak Trap would have been pretty decent against both. Like, I'd bring it against the Khan deck because the starts of, like, Monolith, turn 1, untap with Key, and then play, like, Khan or One Ring is pretty nice to get. But I wouldn't say it's really the metagame for Mindbreak Trap, but maybe it is. Maybe we should play Reanimate. Always thought about Reanimating the board, but never put it to the test. Just because we aren't like a 4 stays deck where you have control over what your opponents can put in play or put into the graveyard. Yuri on Ouphe is a crime. Yeah, if I wouldn't say Ouphe is a great format defining deck, so if its metagame does stay up, I think that they probably should do something from like an enjoyment perspective, which they have started doing, which is nice. Like, I think if we look at the legacy, yeah, I mean like nearly 8%, the top meta deck is Ouphe, which isn't fun. I've definitely had people in paper at our weeklies no longer come because Ouphe players start playing Ouphe, and it's just not great if you want to, you know, have 3 games of Magic and a few of them against Ouphe. Especially now with its resilience. It's very resilient to any sort of hate. Yeah, 7 points cool. 7 points always fun. Doesn't really have an Ouphe deck either. And it looks like the rest of the format has left because I'm going to quickly go to the bathroom. I'll be back in a second. Yeah, I think if we go to deck, Teeg main deck today would have been pretty solid, probably more than Ouphe because it's obviously quite nice. I guess Ouphe did a bit against the Khan deck in game 1 by turning off mana for Saga, which Teeg wouldn't have done. Obviously, Teeg is harder to answer thanks to K command, but I could see where Teeg comes in. But yeah, maybe it's also just the number of non-creature spells in this deck. Maybe it should have a higher count of creatures. Like maybe the Sheltereds and the Onces can't be together, but you never know. Also no library, which is always sometimes a little bit tough to do, but it's a little bit harder to set up in Mav. We don't have like the turn 1 Mox Diamond starts that you do with, say, Naiad Depths. It's a lot harder to play cards these days that you have to untap with to get value, like even Knight. All right. Back on the train. Okay, happy to keep this. Try to find a fetch land with the once. The one thing that Teeg does have is a lack of synergy with Green Suns. Ooh. Interesting. I think he would just take the Bowmasters and then try to build out our mana. But a little bit awkward there not to hit a fetch land. Oh, maybe Pox. Oh, okay. Well then. Ah, okay. Well, we can see if potentially Collector Ouphe turn 2 does something. Probably a pretty normal list. We will take a photo. Is there anything special? Not really. There are 4 cards left. I think we have to Green Suns for Ouphe. I don't think we have the luxury of being able to Cub and try to go that way. I think we have to try to turn off this pedal. 1 pedal, LED, 2 pedal. So it looks like potentially they kept a pedal. I don't think they'd run 3 pedals. But you never know these days. At least a force alongside the pedals puts more creatures or more cards in the bin for endurance down the line, which is kind of nice. Ooh. Okay. So we get to go Cub. Land trigger. Fetch. Hope they don't brainstorm in response. They don't. Trigger. combat. And then hold up Bowmaster. They go to 5 with the fetch. Interesting. I think he would just Bowmaster. Could try to wait for like a brainstorm or something, but oh, but then they're at 2. So they have to draw into Force. But then they can't fetch. So Force and fetch doesn't do it. It has to be Daze. Nice. Very cool. Thoughtseize, Deafening Silence. Choke does something. I'm not sure if Force is really worth it. They're not running Chromox, I don't believe, so yeah. Swords, probably Sheltered's. Grist. Keen-Eyed. There's a lot of cards that I could take out. Might want to keep in like 2 swords as a just in case. They have like a pivot roll. Dismember's probably a little bit better. Opposition Agent is the main card. Sometimes they have Murktide or something else. I think that's it. Teeg only really stops Force. I think stopping our Green Suns is worse. We have the Endurance. We have turn 2 Thalia. Not a great hand, especially when we brought in things like Thoughtseize and Dryad and Deafening Silence that I would assume they take it slow and potentially Thoughtseize us, so taking the Endurance leaves us with a pretty mediocre hand. Well, not that much better, but we do have like turn 1 Acceleration, turn 2 Thalia, potentially something with the Once. A threat with the Knight. If they Thoughtseize us, I'm also happy not to Once and just make it an unknown card. Now that's interesting. Does that make Wasteland more ideal? I think we'll find out. I think we try it. We don't have a great turn 1 anyway. I'll keep the fetch lands because of Cub, but also Lush, Dryad Arbor potentially. Okay, take Thalia. Then probably, let's see, if they're going to Thoughtseize here, they probably have Ritual into Doomsday. No. Huh. I actually like here. I think I like taking them off the pedal more than playing the Knight, especially seeing they missed a land drop. Like, it's 3 mana for 0 mana, but I still think that's not the worst. We then get to play Night next turn around a Daze, just in case. Cabal Ritual in the yard. They miss a land drop. We play a land first. We play Night. We hold up Lush. They force, that's fine. They get rid of the Daze. I think the Lush is better than playing the Noble. They find Basic Island. Okay. That is fine. Lush. Trigger, I want to find some disruption. That is disruption, but I don't think it's enough. I think there's better cards. I don't think holding the endurance and just attacking for 2 each turn is going to do it. This might also put some fear in them, knowing what these 2 cards are. I don't think they know about the planes. I just think there's, yeah, something better. That's close. I want to hold these cards because I think it's better to have them as unknown than allowing my opponent to have full information. And I think with 4 mana in play, that's more than enough for everything else. Oh, wow. Did not expect the pass back. I think here it's just attack for 2 and then upkeep, take out their sewers. Maybe even take out the underground sea so it's a little bit awkward. I guess they can daze the island. Nice. All right. We're on the board. Lucky. Always nice to be Doomsday, especially without any real hate. What was that? Just mana dorks? We didn't get a Thalia down, we just attacked and wastelanded? Typically quite a hard deck to interact with. Which sometimes just beating face gets there. Probably more scared of the versions with white for things like Teferi, swords. Teferi's pretty brutal to play against when you are a deck that typically holds up endurance or goes off sorcery speed, which isn't the worst thing, but it just means that you're obviously not doing too much in their turn, which is a pretty big bonus for them. We haven't played against a Delver deck yet. I've been seeing a little bit more Delver online, but obviously, yeah, probably more so blue red than Grixis. Running the new artifact cutter. I forget the full name, but it is, it makes it a little bit more awkward with like sideboarding. Cards like Sheltered by Ghosts or Prismatic Ending help a lot, but you don't really want to keep an artifact tape. Kind of awkward manner. Hey, welcome back. Hope you're doing well. This hand is interesting. It's most likely turn one. No, I just don't like it. This hand I do like. We'll keep this and bottom the Lush, and then probably just go for Lush off the Windswept. Opponent's gone to 5 cards. I'm going to lead on the Verdant because Windswept kind of gives away a bit more about being on a fair deck, whereas Verdant could be blue-black. It could be a lot more. Cub's been cool. Oh, interesting. Just a Otawara. Cub's been nice. I like it as a way to like back up my creatures rather than rely on it as a beatdown plan. That can go in the graveyard. But it's been pretty sweet as a bear to grab. I actually kind of like Wasteland Pass and then probably just upkeep, hit it. Okay. I think you're just like Peatland Pass, and if they fetch, I'm just going to play the Bowmaster. I don't think they're a Daze deck if they're playing this. Maybe they're on like a Show and Tell deck. Either way, I don't mind just playing a Bowmaster here. There is a world where I want to like upkeep when they have the 1 Misty, just play the Bowmaster. But I just wasn't too sure what they were on. So if I could hit something, I'd be pretty happy with that. Okay. Let's play this Scrub. Play it Ignobled, and then just hold up Bowmaster, and then probably Knight off the Show and Tell, if it is Show and Tell. Could have attacked with just 1 with the Ignobled, but in case they had like a Fatal Push or something, I wanted to hold up. This definitely makes me think it's Show and Tell. This is fine. I kind of just want to bow in response so that if they have like a Force or a Daze, they have to use it then and there. Honestly, at this point, I don't know if we want to play the Night Out or not. There's a world where I want to draw first. Probably off the Scrubland. I think there's more in the Lush. Yeah, okay. Yeah, there's a world where they just have like Sneak and then something else. tough. Ouphe, Keen-Eyed, probably Cub. Thoughtseize, Chokes, Force, Deafening Silence, Teeg, probably Swords, Ramunap. Renegade's pretty good. Endurance, Grist I don't mind. I think that's going to be it. It could be a Harbinger deck, but we can somewhat play around that with Sheltered and Basics. Sheltered does make it a little bit better against Show and Tell, but obviously not probably the matchup you don't want to see on Maverick. The matchup. Don't really care about what you're doing. It's a one lander, but I'm pretty happy to keep it. I think it has just enough. It is tricky though, because if we go for Bayou, we can then Green Suns, but if we go for Scrubland, then we can either play Deafening Silence, or if we find any land, we can Thalia. Probably not a keep. I think it's just a little bit too risky in not finding that extra land next turn, because if we skip one land, if we skip one turn, it's probably game. But I think it's going to be Scrubland, which is a little bit awkward, but getting a Green Suns for Dryad Arbor doesn't really help the hand that much either. Wow. Okay. Maybe they kept like a one land with Ponder and they just wanted to protect that. Oh. Guess we can Green Suns for Dryad Arbor next turn. Hold up Sheltered again. Interesting. Maybe it's actually Night this turn. Night, hold up Sheltered, and then we have access to Wasteland. Green Suns for one doesn't do a whole lot. Grist on board doesn't do a whole lot. Yeah, I think it is, because we want to Show until in the Sheltered, so... Well, that's good for us. 2 bottom. Okay. Interesting. Thankfully, this is non-creature. So we can Grist as well if we want. Let's have a quick think. We definitely want to wasteland them. So what do we want a Green Suns for? Could be Teeg. I think Teeg's pretty good. 1, 2, 3, 4. Force. Okay, let's attack for 2 and then take out the Ancient Tomb. Hold up Dryad Arbor, which is close to it actually is lethal if we have Dryad Arbor, because we can draw a card with the Nurturing Peatland. Actually, that's just lethal on board. Wow. Attack for 9. It's pretty crazy. Did not see that happening. I think we're just running this back. Like I could see like just maybe the Cub just to increase clock potentially once we get a bear in play. Okay. I'm pretty happy to keep this. Turn 1 acceleration, turn 2 choke. We then have Sheltered by Ghosts off show and tell to hit anything. Don't mind just getting a... I'll go for Savannah. See if we can choke them. Okay. Well, trading with the pedal isn't too bad either there. I think I like this getting Knight into play here. Oh, it could also be Gaddock Teeg. Very interesting. I think it actually might be Gaddock Teeg. Teeg and play another dog. Just because Teeg turns off a lot of their Cunning Wish lines. Okay, well there goes Cunning Wish, so that's kind of a win. All right. There's Show and Tell. Sheltered. Yuck. They have one card. They shuffled. Tough. Damn. The 1/4. Coming up against Doomsday as well, which I did not see. Yeah, really tough. We did talk about main deck Thoughtseize at the start of the league, and I think this would actually be a pretty good one to have the main deck Thoughtseizes, which is pretty interesting because I'm a huge Thoughtseize fan, but it's tough to find the space for it. But I think how I would do it is taking out the onces, going down on a sheltered, and then going down on the fairy for another ley line. Something like this. It's tough because there's so many different combo decks that it's hard to actually line up how we want to play it. And I would probably just add in the 4 Thoughtseize. There's a world because of the Thoughtseizes, I would add Ooze in the deck over the Keen-Eyed, just for that extra bit of life gain. Which is, yeah, pretty interesting, but yeah, I think if you're going to run up against a bunch of combo, then Thoughtseizes are pretty good card to have. It also allows you to get some information about how you go about your next few turns. Like, is Bowmaster worth holding up? Is it worth to tap out for Thalia? Do you want a Green Suns for a bear? So it could be, yeah, pretty interesting to see how this deck would play differently with the Thoughtseizes main deck. But we might try that out on Thursday night stream. I'm going to go enjoy my weekend. A big thank you to you all for coming in and watching. A big thank you to the new followers. I'm going to quickly see who is streaming and send you over there. All right. It looks like Sylvia who is a very well-known Delver player. So I hope you enjoy their stream, and we'll catch you next time. Thank you very much.